Hello, hi everybody. Last part we finished with Babu's party, which was just unbelievable in Vagator, and just the right amount of people and the sound like unbelievable. It was so beautiful. Anyway, yeah, let's continue. Part 4. Michael, a Swiss guy, invited me to come to Arambol. Arambol. It's a little village up north the coast, basically Vagator. Then you get Chapora Bay, which was a natural border kind of thing, and then go north. You come to Arabol, which was basically still very untouched in a way. Few hippies and stuff, but nothing big tourism. So it was great. So yeah, Michael, a Swiss guy, invited me to come to Arabol, and I thought it might be a good idea to give myself a wee break, small break from the parties. And so one day, I went to Chapora Harbor, found a fisherman who would take me over to the other side of Chapora Bay, to the beach where they had a dry fish farm right at the beach. It was stinking terrible. But soon the smell disappeared. As I walked along further north, the miles-long beach to Arambol. The only sign of civilization were the old wooden fisher boats, with side boats lying abandoned at the beach. One or two native fishermen, that was it. Nobody else would be populating this long, beautiful beach. The sun burned down powerfully, and I was glad when I arrived at Arambol. Having walked along the beach for possibly 4 to 5 hours, there then I met Michael in one of the few beach shacks, and he welcomed me. Hold on, what's this? With a good joint, and we relaxed for the rest of the day. Life was very different in Arambol. No rush, just a few hippies, mainly locals, everything shanty, quiet, and laid back. The next day, Michael would take me to Arambol Lake, which is just half-hour walk along the coast up north. The path led through rocky coastlines around a sharp corner, and suddenly there it was. A beautiful freshwater lake right behind the beach, with a sandbank of about 10 meters width, dividing the seawater from the lake. A little open-air restaurant on a high point in the middle of green bushes overviewing the beach, as well as the lake, was perfect for breakfast. There was no building, just a little kerosene stove, a bag of ice cubes hidden under the sand to keep cool, some fruits and eggs, some rolls, and that was it. I loved it. A few hippies lived here in the bushes with their little own fireplaces, and that was all. We swam in the lake, which was very refreshing, and then Michael wanted to show me the jungle with the famous banyan tree, which started right behind the lake. Little, well-flattened paths led us more and more into the jungle. The shade was welcomed, as the sun was getting strong again. After half an hour walk, we finally got to the center of the valley, which was also the center of the jungle. I straight away felt the place was special. When I saw the huge, majestic banyan tree with at least 2 to 3 meter diameter at the bottom of its trunk. But not only that, upon sitting down, I realized that this tree's branches had been growing away from the main trunk for a couple of meters and then sending out air roots back down to the ground, receiving thus support to grow further on. As far as the eye could see, more air roots would support them and build a network of branches, air roots, and lianas. The whole center of the valley, with countless stems and branches and air roots, were all from the same tree, from the main tree in the middle. Beside the main trunk, the ground was flattened and made soft and smooth to sit on. No noise of any civilization, no disturbance of any other people, just the birds in the trees and far away noises of some wild monkeys. which populated the valley, blazing sun but bearable. As the leaves provided comfortable shade and body-like temperature, this was close to paradise. Sitting beside this rightly called holy tree, your mind was challenged to either just enjoy in peaceful quietness or get involved in deeper thoughts about this unique place, about life in general. However, it was time to get back, as I still wanted to walk back to Vagator that day. Michael bade me farewell when we got back to Arambol and gave me a little trip for my way home. I took it there and then, possibly downed it with a papaya shake, and then got on my way. Never will I forget the serene scenery ahead of me. Miles of beautiful untouched beach, and at the very end, the silhouette of this huge single tree which marked the Bay of Shapora. It was great to be back in Vagator. I loved my little room in Jeffrey's house, being the last on the dirt road, and having this little path going through the bushes, leading me through a quiet side valley into the center beach of Vagator. No shacks were there, hardly any people. It was like my private beach, and yet 5 minutes away from the hottest seen beach in Goa, which was to the left. To the right, walking along the water, going around a few rocks, I would get to Big Vagator, a stretched out beach with a road leading right down to the sand. Quite a few Indians could be seen there at times, as it was easy accessible, but just not as special as Little Vagator. However, walking across this beach led me to the most northern bay of Vagator. This became one of my favorite spots, as not many people would discover it, and you had it virtually for yourself. A little sweetwater well came out of the red rock, just meters behind the fine sand of the beach. So you even had a drinking water there. Signs, or rather leftovers of a little shack, could be seen nearby. Obviously, somebody liked the place so much that he wanted to stay there permanently. One sunset, I just enjoyed the peacefulness of the sacred quiet spot when another chap came along the beach. We somehow started to talk and soon discovered not only the common passion for the beauty of this private beach, but the love of chess game. He had a set of chess with him, and we soon engaged in an awesome little match right there on the beach. The sun was setting over the water and plunged the whole scene into evening red. It was magical. Nobody else there, and our game was almost over when a big wave hit the beach. My fellow friend seemed to know the place well, as he pointed out that it was full moon night approaching that night, and that the waves were always at the peak height the evening before. Very true this was, as the waves got so strong that we had to move several times not to be washed away. I had never seen them coming so far onto the beach and realized what a strong impact the moon had on our Earth. If we only were more often at untouched spots like this, where nature was not curtailed by walls, electricity, or any human interference. One night, the moon was half high above the water. I visited this American girl in her beach hut. She was not my type, and I didn't quite know what this would turn out to be, going for more or keep it cool, when I suddenly got this pain in my bowels, which I now and again experience due to a burst appendix followed by a messed up operation. The last thing I need, I thought, and I rolled out of her bed, going for a stroll along the beach to overcome the blockage in my tummy. Moving helped to get my bowels going again. It must have been about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was around. Then I suddenly saw it. The crest of the wave, which just broke in front of me, lit up with intense fluorescent green wherever the water was in turmoil. I could not believe it. I looked around, and as far as the eye could see, the breaking waves were shining in this beautiful green golden light. Never ever have I seen such beauty. Wow. One of the most unusual places for a party was up at the Shapora Fort. And Fernando and I had a great time, especially in the morning, when we watched the ruddy old fishing trawlers leaving the harbor just below us with their raw Harley sound engines, pushing them through the waves, while we were dancing to the sunrise songs, tripping as usual. Where did you get a mix like that? That's when I also met Luigi, the Swiss chap, for the first time. He looked exactly like John Lennon, with round glasses, long hair, and was just such a good laugh. It was always relaxing to go away from Vagator to Candolim for a break, chilling out at Fernando's, enjoying the empty beach, no parties for a change, no noise, no hectic. One evening, as I tried to get the last bus back to Vagator, I ran along the street to catch up with the overtaking bus and didn't see the rock sticking out of the tarmac and fully hit it with my left big toe. Piercing pain shot through my whole leg as I had no protective shoe wear, but just the usual flip-flops. In the dim light, I couldn't see what actually was damaged. But judging by the excruciating pain and the blood running badly, I knew it was bad. I limped back to Fernando's, who gave me a lift to the next hospital. We were lucky that they hadn't closed yet, being just a minor medical center consisting of one little hut. My big toenail was ripped out 3/4 ways, hanging just on a bit of skin. So the doctor gave me a painkiller jab, which didn't really work, and with me biting literally into my belt for pain, he completed the removal of the toenail. Bandaged it up, I went into the entrance room where I had left my bag to fetch my money to pay the bill. The money was gone. Somebody must have got into the room and then stolen all the cash I had in my bag. With the little cash I had left for the last 1 to 2 weeks of my stay in Goa, I decided to ask my dad if he could send me some more cash. I had to drive to this big hotel 10 kilometers away from the coast, which was the only place then where you could do an international call or send a telegram. As cash was scarce now, I decided for the shortest possible telegram, sounding like, injured, cash stolen, can you send cash? The pumping in my toe was unbearable, but what concerned me most was the danger of an infection, and that I could not dance anymore. Word got round, and after a couple of days, some friends passed by and told me to remove the bandage and then put this green gel on which they got from a huge aloe vera plant. This will help you to heal much faster. After 3 to 4 days, I went back to the parties. Still a big bandage on my foot, but I could not resist the sound and soon was dancing away, simply ignoring my toe. Even the Italians, of whom I got to know a few, honored my craziness, and as far as I remember, I received quite a bit of cheering when I got back onto the sandy dance floor, followed by yet another shilum. I think it was Michele, the Italian, who invited me to come to his house, which was just opposite where I stayed, at the footpath extending from the Vagator dirt road, leading through a quiet valley directly to the beach, between Little and Big Vagator. One of the girls there had got liquid acid and told me to hold open my hand upside down, spreading the thumb away from the hand, and there, in that little groove of my hand, she poured the acid from a little bottle. I slapped it up and instantly knew this was the best stuff I had ever tried. There was only one guy who had it. It was the old American chap with the long, almost white Rastafarian hair, whom everybody called Eric, the Acid Pope. This title was no exaggeration. No finer acid have I ever taken. Within seconds, everybody was tripping, and we tried to get to the party, which in itself was an adventure, roaming through the night with hardly any streetlights existing. I had to get my own bottle from Eric. The days flew by, and I just managed to hold on to enough cash to pay back whatever I had borrowed here and there. And then came a big surprise. Michael D'Souza, upon hearing that I would leave in 2 to 3 days, arranged a farewell party at Small Vagator Beach so that I could still enjoy the last party before leaving. I finally had managed to find Michael, and we first met at the Hilltop Cafe. He invited me to his place and introduced me to his wife, Karen, a charming Swiss lady. We talked a lot about music and arranged to meet up for a recording session. He told me that most of his tapes were stolen and that it's why he didn't do so many parties anymore. He used to have the best collection of the latest dance songs, as people would just give it to him, coming from all corners of the world. As the only Goanese local DJ, he knew so many people and would always be there unless he was in Switzerland or Bali. The next time I visited them, Michael and I did some recordings. He still had some very good tapes left, and I had a few interesting songs for him as well. I gave him also some good quality empty tapes. You know, in those days you had the little record tapes, cassetten. It was called, I think, cassettes for further recordings. They were top quality, metal frame, metal oxidation stuff on it. They were the top quality tapes. To show my appreciation, Karen had gone out and we got stuck into the music. At some point, Michael needed to go and I started to pack up my gear. But instead he said, no, you stay, you can stay and continue to record whatever you like. Once you are done, just close the door and put the padlock on. I couldn't believe it. Are you sure you want to entrust your whole house to me, whom you hardly know? I knew lots of stories from theft and break-ins here in Goa, and although the hippies wanted to look cool, not all were trustworthy, especially when they needed cash for more drugs. But Michael replied, it's okay, just lock the house properly, I trust you. I must say I felt deeply honored to get such a response from somebody who hardly knew me and had already made his experiences with being nicked badly. I knew he needed a good headphone, and it was clear I would leave him my Sony top-of-the-range headphone behind as a little farewell gift. So back to the farewell party at Small Vagatur. Michael had arranged to set up perfectly the chai shops under the palm trees, the speakers right on the beach 10 meters away from the water. The sound was incredible, and Michael told me that on some days the moisture content of the air would be just right, and it carries the sound optimally, being fat and full, not flat and poor. I never forget the picture of Michael behind the mixer in the morning sun when this new utterly cool with this new utterly cool haircut, kind of a semi-Cherokee haircut, and the silver Sony headphones around his neck in strong contrast to his very dark skin. I begged him to play some of my songs, which he did. The one was my remix of Way of the West and In Excess, and the other one was Fats Gomet's remix. As I had top quality recordings, the sound just blew us away. Even Stefano, who helped DJing, was stunned and decided to copy the song straight away. So the last day came. I paid my last installments for the most psychedelic t-shirt I could find on the flea market, top quality from Bali. The guy was impressed that I would keep my promise and pay the outstanding sum. Others got their money back and were surprised to hear that I would leave. Even Yuki came along. Rarely he showed up on his customized Enfield, only turning up at the best parties. Known for his crazy heroin past and yet highly accepted and respected personally amongst the insiders. A respected personality amongst the insiders. He would be the guy who organized collections to bail out hippies who got caught by the Anjuna cops, which were so corrupt that to make sure a drug raid was successful, for example, drugs were found which led to imprisonment and the following bailout. So these cops would bring their own dope and hid it during the raid and then find it if all else failed. Thus, a constant extra cash flow was guaranteed for these keepers